The year is 1018 PC. Krynn was embroiled in the Third Dragon War. Fire and blood rained from the skies as the world burned under the awesome power of dragons. Cities and entire armies were reduced to ash as these dragons, both good and evil, battled for dominance in the name of their gods. During the ongoing war, two dragons found respite in each other's arms. A silver dragon, Zadrodiat, and a red dragon, Keitha, had found a momentary peace in an otherwise terrible conflict. The fiery heart of Keitha was tempered by that of Zadrodiat, and the righteous nature of Zadrodiat was burned away by Keitha. The love they shared was strong, but had to remain hidden from their kin, for it was a forbidden love, and the laws of dragons were very strict and unforgiving. Fortune, sadly, was not on their side, and they were forced to meet on the battlefield. They refused to fight one another, and their feelings became perfectly clear to those around them. They were both imprisoned for their betrayal. As a punishment, it was agreed, in a rare moment of solidarity between chromatic and metallic dragons, they should be sent through the great portal of Mazis, exiled to the tiny prison world of Branfield, and have their names erased from history, never to be spoken again. The two did not resist their punishment. Taking human form, they stood before the gate and stepped through the threshold hand in hand. In a flash, they were transported many thousands of miles away to a distant foreign world. Tiny Branfield, a dwarf planet, roughly the size of Krynn's moon Solinari, is located between the planets Krynn and Chislev, far enough away that both worlds are but tiny pinpoints in Branfield's night sky. Upon arriving at Branfield, both Keitha and Zadrodiat found themselves surrounded by a desolate world full of terrible creatures. They also found a patchwork of ruins and slums full of previously exiled criminals barely clinging to life. Refusing to wallow in despair, the dragons instead found a world of endless possibilities, a world they could call home. Needing a way to bring some life to this otherwise dead world, they searched the whole of Branfield and found an abandoned temple. Inside, they discovered a buried artifact forgotten by time itself, a green crystal shard. Studying this shard, they discovered that it contained a very unique attribute. It had the ability to absorb power cast into it. For many years, both dragons poured their great magic into the shard until finally it had transformed into something new, a fiery red crystal containing both powers of death and life. Using an old pyroduct, Keitha, a dragon of fire, flew the shard into the heart of the planet and with one last spell bound it to Branfield, and slowly the world began to change. For the following 2 years, rains fell on Branfield, filling valleys and plains with water, creating a vast ocean and a network of rivers and lakes. When the rain stopped and the land's thirst had been quenched, a band of druids offered their assistance to the dragons. Using their magic, they grew plains of grass on the flatlands and forest in the highlands. They also filled the air with birds, the forest with wild game, and the rivers and oceans with all manner of aquatic life. Once their work was done, the two dragons reveled in the magnificent paradise they had created, rallied the huddled masses of people that called Branfield home, and offered to protect them from any dangers that still remained. Under the dragon's protections, the people of Branfield built homes, then villages, and eventually entire cities. More exiled continued to arrive every day as the practice of banishment continued on Krynn. But instead of finding a desolate world waiting for them, they were greeted by green pastures surrounded by crystal clear oceans. The dragons established a new province on Branfield and named it Sivia, governed by its largest city Lostborn and sister city Grasswall. Any that wished to live here were required to swear an oath of neutrality and help maintain the balance between good and evil. Many welcomed the chance at a second life and a new beginning, others did not. Anyone that refused to live by this oath were allowed to leave the lands of Sivia and establish nations of their own elsewhere. The dragons built a high castle in Lostborn and named it Rosewood Keep. From there they would rule, but rarely intervene in the affairs of mortals unless the oath of neutrality was at risk. Instead, rulers in Sivia would be elected, guided by a council consisting also of elected officials. Over a millennia has passed since the dragons first arrived on Branfield, and the people of Sivia have lived in relative peace, prospered, and remained safe as long as they did not venture too far south where their guardian protectors agreed to never tread. But now, the dragons, who could always be found in Rosewood Keep, have gone missing. Bands of kobolds have become aggressive, and the dragon people of the northwest have begun raiding the lands of Sivia. Astronomers have also noticed a very dimly lit object in the night sky. Looking at it through a large spyglass, they noticed what looked like a very large manta ray far above the planet. The peace Branfield has enjoyed for so long seems to be collapsing. Why have the dragons broken their bond and no longer guard over the people? Why have the kobolds and dragon people suddenly taken to violence? The elected leader of Lostborn has asked for any adventurers willing to search the world for answers. Will you heed the call?